At this time, may I have a motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Dr. Caution Parker.
I'd like to recommend that we convene executive session for the purpose of discussing student appeals and student admission requests into the district's adult education program.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Amelia Mackey. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Do a hand vote? Motion passes 7-0. We will now excuse ourselves for executive session. Good evening. As you notice, I am not Mr. Manning tonight. In his absence, I will be conducting this meeting for the first time, so charge it to my head and not my heart if there are any mistakes made, so I'll just say that ahead of time. At this time, we will reconvene the September 24th school board meeting of the Richland 2 School Board's trustees, as we have just now returned from executive session. At this time, I'd like to hear a motion to convene the September 24th school board meeting at this time.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Mackey.
I move that we convene the September 24, 2019 regular school board meeting of the Richland 2 Board of Trustees.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I had several seconds. Dr. Cheryl Caution Parker seconded. At this time, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will call for the vote. Show of hands. With show of hands. Unanimous, it passes. Our first order of business is the inspirational moment and the Pledge of Allegiance. If you all would look at the screen, we have a little video for you tonight. I wanted to show you all this video tonight because it is Kindness Month here. And one thing that sometimes we have to remember, it is very easy to get locked into our own socioeconomic middle class and upper middle classes boxes and think that everybody has the same opportunities and the things that go on. So sometimes when we see children at school that they seem like they're doing things and they're not quite right and you don't understand, but sometimes just like with the puppy in the video, you have to stop for a moment and take a deeper look. Because sometimes when you look into things and take the time to invest into children, you find that some of them come to school with these very issues. They're hungry and things like that. And if you can just help them out just a little, notice I said help out. I didn't say handout. There's a difference. Help people become self-sufficient and help them do things. And then they'll turn around someday and they'll thank you for it, just like the bird did in the video. And as we all know, as I approach retirement age, we're all getting older, so I need all y'all to be working, you young people. So I'm gonna be very kind to you and help you get to the next level because I need somebody to pay Social Security. But no, all jokes aside, I wanted to share this with you all because I think it's important that we remember, don't just take things at the surface. Take time, take a moment, be invested, and make sure that you're treating everybody with the same kind of kindness that you would want to be treated with. And that's our inspirational moment for the evening. Thank you. And now we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time, I need a motion for the approval of the agenda. May I please have a motion? It's going to be a long meeting. May I have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Mackey.
I move that we approve the agenda of the September 24th, 2019 regular board meeting of the Richland 2 School Board of Trustees.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We will now call for the vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we will move into special recognitions. I would like if my Libby to come up, and if all my board members would please come to the front. You ready?
Yes, go ahead. Board members line up, and we'll get Dr. Davis on the corner over here. We're special night tonight for us. We are recognizing our 2019-2020 Teachers of the Year, kind of giving them an official kickoff to their year as serving as Teachers of the Year for their schools. But first, just want to take a quick moment to recognize Troop 2870, who is from Scouts BSA Troop, that is from Windsor United Methodist Church. Will y'all please stand? We appreciate them being here, and they are working on their citizen and community badge. So now we will, y'all are already in here. It is indeed a very great night and such an honor for me to call out the names of these individual teachers who are beyond stellar and were selected by their peers to be the District Teacher of the Year. We're going to begin with meeting our 2019-2020 District Teacher of the Year, Andrew or AJ Chambers from Richland Northeast. The next four teachers are our Honor Roll Teachers of the Year. Means they made it to the finalist level. We'll begin with Jennifer Bull from Longleaf Middle. Clara Nance from Polo Road Elementary. Agnes Knox from Ridgeview High. And rounding out the honor roll teachers is Missy Paschal from Round Top Elementary. All right, our Teachers of the Year from the school levels. We begin with Brandy Haygood from Bethel Hanbury Elementary. Ben Elric from Blythewood High. Jessica, it's a reunion. Jessica Atkins from Blythewood Middle. Arlie West from Bookman Road Elementary. Stephanie Sultan from Bridge Creek Elementary. Brittany Donnelly from Catawba Trail Elementary. I believe Lauren Meekins from Dent Middle was not able to attend tonight. So we'll move on to Elizabeth Gibbs with E.L. Wright Middle. Rebecca Pope from Forest Lake Elementary. Ashonda Merritt from Jackson Creek Elementary. Mitchell Bailey from Joseph Keels Elementary. Irvina Muldrow Smith from Kelly Mill Middle. Nikita Porter from Killian Elementary. Krista Agee from Lake Carolina Elementary Lower. Lauren Rosenberg from Lake Carolina Elementary Upper. Whitney Tyler from Langford Elementary. Brandon Davis from Lonnie B. Elementary. Shamla Reynolds from L.W. Condor Elementary. Lacey Von Plinsky from Muller Road Middle. Tabitha Glover from North Springs Elementary. Lindsay Perez from Pontiac Elementary. Elizabeth Harris from Rice Creek Elementary. Ashley Weber from Sandlapper Elementary. Jennifer Boykin from Spring Valley High. Laura Sweeney from Summit Parkway Middle. Kristen McGuire from Westwood High. Jennifer Boone from Windsor Elementary. Hold tight, teachers. And now, if our board members can return to their seats, I'm going to ask our teachers if y'all split down the middle. And this half, AJ, if you'll lead them back up front over here and stop around the podium. And then Jennifer, if you don't, we'll just turn around and come back to the middle of the room. So from here, y'all go that way. You go that way. I want your smiling faces up front. All right, stop right there. Yep. And Jennifer, stop right there. Yep. Directions are easy to give and hard to follow, especially when I'm not a teacher trying to give directions. So as they're making their way back up front, and we might scoot down a little bit so we can kind of get as many of them up front. We have some future teachers out here too, and one future teacher on the way. Y'all scoot on down a little bit. So Our Teachers of the Year are actually selected in the fall and winter of last year because they have to go through the district selection process, which requires them to put together an impressive portfolio. So now that they've gotten that out of the way, they get to enjoy their year as Teacher of the Year for their school. And when selecting Teacher of the Year, I thought I'd share with you the criteria that we ask our fellow teachers in the schools to consider when they're looking for. And I can attest, because I've read each one of these teachers' portfolios, that they absolutely demonstrate every single one of these. You possess a superior ability to impart knowledge and to inspire students with the love of learning. You keep abreast of current educational theories and practices through professional development. You devote countless amounts of time and energy to improving your craft, all for the benefit of your students. You are innovative. You share wisdom and knowledge and experience with others gladly. You're respected and admired. You stand out as leaders, and you support your entire community. And every single one of you, I hope you leave here tonight knowing you demonstrate that above and beyond. I was reading recently how we're talking about the teacher shortage and the challenges facing teachers, which certainly does deserve attention, and we need that to come out. But if we talk about teacher shortage and the challenges that face teachers without talking about the good that we have in teaching, then it's going to be really hard to recruit the people who will stand up here in your place in years to come. So I just ask all of us to take a look at these wonderful teachers. And when you hear someone talking about education and the challenges we face and the shortage that we have, you can let them know that yes, we have that, but we have people standing in our classrooms who will show you what is great and wonderful about teaching, that is amazing about public education, life-changing about what you do. And you need to come see them because that's what we need more of. So thank you for everything you do, and most importantly, thank you for all you do for our students. Let's congratulate them, please. So we are going, there's no way I can turn y'all into a group photo here. So we're going to ask our Teachers of the Year to exit now, and we'll meet y'all on the stairs, to line you up on the stairs and get a great group shot. And family members, as soon as they get out, the board will take a quick pause. You're welcome to stay. We'd love for you all to stay, but you can join us outside as well. So thank you very much. Board members, I thank you for this time, for this recognition.
Congratulations. Okay, now that we've cleared half of the room, I'm going to take a moment. We have the teacher cadets here. Where are my teacher cadets? Woo! I need you to stand up. They need to see you. Stand up. Yes, let's give them a round of applause. Okay, stay right there. You know I got to get a picture. Stay right there. Don't move. Let's give our teacher cadets one more round of applause. Thank you. As you can probably tell, I was a cheerleading coach at one time, yes. Okay, moving on to item 6, consent agenda. May I please have a motion for the approval of our consent agenda?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Agostini,
I move to approve the consent agenda for September 24th, 2019.
do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Cheryl Caution Parker. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will call for the vote. Motion carries. Moving on to the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. May I have a motion for the approval of the minutes from the previous? No? Okay, this is my first time, so we're going to start that again. Dr. Davis, what are we doing? Okay, back up. We're going back to 7.1, public participation. We do have one public participation this evening, and before we do that, let me remind everybody of our rules for public participation. The board will only hear items that the board has governance over, and there will be no mention of any specific person, school, or event. And at this time, we do have one person signed up, and that's Mr. Gus Philpott.
Thank you. I'm Gus Philpott, members of the board, superintendent. At a September meeting in this room, I noticed that there was a man carrying a concealed weapon. He had on a sweatshirt, a cap. I did notice that his sweatshirt read Richland 2 Emergency Services. His weapon was covered by his shirt until he walked away from me when the shirt rode up over the butt of the pistol, and so his pistol in its holster was visible. I did not know who he was. Since he had greeted many people here, including board members, I assumed the board knew who he was. You may remember that in February last year, I addressed this board and asked for a survey about arming teachers and employees, and the survey went nowhere. There was no survey. I understand tonight there is a policy on the agenda for the board to approve, allowing certain employees to carry concealed loaded firearms on campus, and those employees would be approved by the superintendent. I did not read it myself, but I heard about it. I tried to access the website from this room, but could not. This creates a very high risk of liability for the school district. I am not opposed to having trained armed personnel on campus with firearms to solve problems that might arise and require that degree of response. However, because of the degree of liability that this school district would face, I believe the only appropriate approval for a person to carry a concealed weapon on campus should be from the board itself. The superintendent would likely make the recommendation, but I believe it's up to the board to approve it. You can set the criteria, the qualifications, the experience levels, training, and whatever other requirements you find suitable. But if those are not in this item on tonight's agenda, for the board to have the decision-making authority, I ask you to vote no on tonight's proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Philpott, for your comments. We have no one else on for public participation. At this time, we'll move to our legislative update. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I think at this time we do not have a legislative update for items 8.1.
Thank you. Moving on. Item 9, voting on executive session items 9.1, student appeals. At this time, do I have a motion for the student appeals?
Madam Vice Chair, I have a recommendation.
Yes.
For student 1, my recommendation is to uphold the administrative decision and send the student one to Blythewood Academy.
Okay. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I assumed when she said that she was recommending that she meant that it was
A
a
motion?
motion. She
Oh, I'm
was
sorry,
moving to
yes,
do
a
that?
motion.
Okay.
Yes, that was a motion.
In that case, I second it.
Thank you, Mr. Shad.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Shad.
seconded by Mr. Shad.
Thank you, Mr. Shad.
Any discussion? At this time, we'll call for the vote. The motion passes 6-1. 5-1, I'm sorry, 5-1.
Madam Vice Chair, that's an error. That should have been yes.
Okay, I was right the first time. The motion passes 6 unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Elkins.
I have another.
At this time, do we have a recommendation for student number 2?
We do. I have a motion I'd like to propose.
Yes.
Sorry.
You got me
For
saying
student two,
recommendation.
I'm sorry, my recommendation, I move that student 2, that we uphold the administration's recommendation to return the student to their home school on strict probation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Cheryl Caution Parker. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we will call for the vote. The motion passes 6-1. 5-1. I'm gonna keep doing it. 5-1. The motion passes 5-1.
I have another recommendation. Oh, I'm sorry, for 9.2. With regard to student admission requests into the district's adult education program, I move that the students, 1, 2, 3, the 4 students indicated be allowed admission into Richland 2's adult education program. That is my motion.
Having been motioned by Ms. Mackey, do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, okay. Let's go with Ms. Agostini on this one. Ms. Agostini seconded the motion. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Motion passes unanimously. Item 9.3 is not necessary. Item 10, old business, no action required. Dr. Davis, item 10.1, capital improvement.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Madam Vice Chair and members of the board, we have Mr. Will Anderson as well as Mr. Tom Cramner, who will provide status of the Richland 2 bond projects for you at our monthly update to the board regarding bonds. Mr. Anderson and Mr. Cramner, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all. And I'm not by myself today. I got Mr. Cramner with me, who will give you all a much more detailed update on some of our IT projects. Thanks. As we've mentioned before, I'd like to go over some of these just as a reminder for the public as well, who may not be here for every meeting, of some of the projects we're doing. For our front entrances, we have an updated timeline. They should be finished some in October, the rest in November, with the hardware and the windows and the doors that we've been waiting on. So those will be done. Our schools have been great with the new policies and procedures, and they've been working well during the construction time. Lake Carolina and Bridge Creek, they will be done over winter break. We have an expedited timeline where those 2 schools will be finished over winter break during that time. So we're great for that. And our IdentiKid rollout is still going well. Some other safety projects, the roof replacement for Rice Creek started this week or end of last week. So that's great. We're really excited about that project getting started. Dent and Condor will start in mid-October. Our HVAC replacement, we're working through that, as that will start at Killian, Bookman, and Rice Creek and then hopefully Ridgeview as well in the spring, if not the spring for Ridgeview this summer. So really exciting about the HVAC replacement at those schools. HVAC's a big deal. We
Must
know
be over
this.
there, yes.
Blythewood High School, no real change from last time. They're in the construction document phase, preparing the construction documents, getting ready for permitting. So we're still on time to start in end of January, 1st of February for construction. Mr. Sherman and his staff have been great during the process of getting ready for the changes already at the school and the upcoming changes. So it'll be a difficult time, but the end result will be well worth it as we go through these next year and a half or so of construction there. CFK North, same comments in the construction documents. Final stages, getting ready for building. We've at the point where we start picking out colors and going to more of the aesthetics. So it's really getting close. Same process, getting ready for construction January, February. And Ms. Agee and her staff been great at CFK, but Mr. Bishton's been great accommodating the school for the overflow of classrooms. So it's been a good process thus far. I wanted to go a little bit deeper with some of the stadiums. We haven't done this recently, but the stadiums will be starting in December, making great progress on the stadiums. This is Richland Northeast Stadium. This is our most recent design that we're looking at. A couple things wanted to point out, and I'll point for the board first, and then I'll point for the public. It's hard to see my little red dot, but this is Brookfield up at top. Here's your home stadium. Here's the visitor stands. We've got a new access road. At first, we had an access road coming all around, but that would get into the traffic and not a lot of parking on in the schools. So we've got the access road here. Field house concept down here at the end. Right now, looking at about 4,000 seats for the stadium, and then we'll have artificial turf there. We've got a entrance way for the home team, for the visitors. Concessions underneath, another storage room. So really exciting for Northeast. And just for the public's sake, home side, visitor side, access road, field house. Here's kind of conceptual what it would look like. This would be looking from the back as you approach the school, as you approach the stadium. Obviously, we're getting the best up-to-date graphics from the school. So that's what the outside would look like, and this will be the inside when you're on the field looking at the stadium. So exciting there. And here's a look at the field house. So this is if you're sitting on the 50-yard line looking at the field house. So nice high glass ceiling with locker rooms and stuff on each side. And you can see here the drawing of weight room, locker rooms, restrooms, offices, etc. And this will be used as their kind of primary spot for spring sports as well, because as you know, Northeast, they're probably one of the furthest away from the school in terms of their athletic complexes, as opposed to Ridgeview, which you'll see in a second is a little different because their proximity to the school is much closer. Here's Ridgeview. What we've done here. Ridgeview is a very tight site, so as you know, it's difficult. One of our initial designs had this complex here with a larger field house addition taking up much more of their practice field, which they need as many fields as possible. So I'll get to in a second, we've actually made additions to the school, kind of like we've done at Blythewood High School, where we've had additions there since it's so close. And so we've got the home side here, visitor here, a much more larger concession storage facility that will then also help with these other sports down here. And then we've got the entrance gate and concessions, entrance gate here and visitors here where visitors will walk around this path, emergency access down this road where buses will park. A challenging site, but additionally what we've done, or what we're doing is we will also, we're expanding the gym expansion, and I'll show you that in a second. This is still a required thoroughfare for emergency access, but during events we can block this off so you've got a nice plaza feel connecting from the gym to the stadium. Here's a kind of look of what it looks like from coming from the gym on the outside. You can see kind of the slope, how it will still be a little higher, but then you're taking advantage of the slope for the stadium. And this is looking in, if you're on the field, looking at the press box and the stadium. This is what I mentioned, the kind of field house for them is the addition to the gym and to their athletic area. This is what, at the top is what it would look like if you're facing it from the outside with the expansion over here. You can, right now where I'm shining my light is their current gym lobby, and which is small. So now we're expanding that to make a much more larger lobby with concessions. Then you have a additional athletic wing with weight room, training room, etc., which will take up some parking, but it does make a larger expansion to their athletics. Other work that we have going on, of course, is replacement school designs are underway. Great meetings in September 3rd and September 12th at Forest Lake and Bethel-Hanbury. Really good feedback, a lot of community engagement. Appreciate our board members who were able to be at those meetings. E.L. Wright Middle, we're still working through our school and site configuration for that school. Our other projects, our Killian Bus Hub, that's a picture of the bus hub getting cleared out. It's behind the current bus hub behind Killian, so they are got the trees down and starting work. So that's really our first big, I would say, dirt moving site. So I'm exciting to see that happening. That's scheduled to be done by November, December, so that we can move our buses, for special need buses from Support Service Center to the Killian Bus Hub. Construction documents are complete on those, and we are working currently on Northeast and Ridgeview at very starting point for the design of that work. And as I mentioned earlier, our last time our buses are here, they're hitting the road already. Their cameras have been installed, and so they are on the road right now doing activity, but they're also working on filling the gaps. We're having some issues at some of our buses just for being late for a variety of reasons, traffic, but as more construction happens on Hardscrabble, Clemson, et cetera, these buses will be filling those gaps to make sure, first and foremost, our kids get to school safely, but they also get to school on time. And with that, I'll turn this section over to Mr. Cramner, and him and I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Just an update on some of our technology projects that are going on right now. One of our big projects is our replacement of classroom interactive displays for teaching and learning. Richland 2 has been using classroom interactive boards. We began about almost 20 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but we've been using them for almost 20 years. So we have about 2,000 classrooms that are going to receive the new Clear Touch interactive displays. The project will take about, it's underway now. We have some schools completed, and it'll be about a year from now to get it totally completed because, as you can imagine, this is fairly disruptive work and has to take place at night after hours. So it's a gradual process moving forward. We also have about 14 schools getting new telephone systems that we installed back in the late 90s. So we're able to upgrade those telephone systems to have all the newer features that come with the newer platform by Cisco. So we're happy when this is completed to have a common unified platform for all schools for all of our telephone systems. Project completion is scheduled for summer 2020, next summer. As far as our one-to-one student computing project, just this past summer that was just completed, we replaced about 25% of the full implementation of student computing devices, which translates to about 6,000 Chromebooks that we replaced into the hands of students. So that's about 25% of the full implementation. Some of our more boring things that happen on the back end, but are nonetheless really important for keeping our reliability up and being able to recover from any data problems or hack attacks, that sort of thing, is our district data backup and recovery data center. We are, first of all, moving it from one location in the district to another location and replacing some of the older equipment that's in there. So this gives us a very reliable data backup for all of the data that teachers and staff use and create in the district, as well as finance, payroll, and our student information systems. Again, on the infrastructure side, to maintain our reliability, we're replacing 259 uninterruptible power supplies, and these are battery backups that keep our network running and keep our telephone systems operational in the event of power outages. So this is also a security and safety topic, as well as protecting our investment in electronics from lightning strikes and that sort of thing. We're also on the infrastructure side replacing about a third of the network switches that are throughout the district. It's about 188 networking components on the back end. Again, this is on the boring side of what happens behind the scenes, but this is part of the reliability that we see in our network for delivering technologies for teaching and learning, as well as our operations. We're going to begin that project in third quarter of this year. And then, very important, we are, after about an 8-year implementation, we are doing a district-wide upgrade, replacement of our wireless network. We're converting from a Cisco network to an Aerohive wireless. And just to give you a sense of scale, there are about 2,600 wireless access points throughout our facilities that we'll be replacing. And that will begin in the fourth quarter of this year, and we plan to complete that in August 2020. And from there, I'll turn it back to Mr. Ames.
And as always, for the public, you can go find out all of information about our bond projects at richland2.org /bond or /about/facilities, and you can find everything there. With that, we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson and Mr. Kramer. Are there any questions or comments from anybody from the board?
Madam Vice Chair,
Dr. Elkins Johnson.
I want to say thank you guys for this update. Just one suggestion. I know this update came out to us after 12, and I'll appreciate if we can just get it in advance so we can have an opportunity to take a look at it. I didn't notice we had it until almost 3 o'clock. So if we can, and that's to you, Dr. Davis, as well, you can make sure.
That's on me.
Well, I'm addressing all of you guys.
Yes, sir.
But thank you for the update. But it will be nice if we can get it in advance and have an opportunity to take a look at it in case we have questions in advance for you guys. But thank you so much.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Shad.
I'll just reiterate my request, Dr. Davis and staff, to have a link on this page regarding our progress with our minority participants. And thank you, Mr. Kramer, for your riveting presentation.
Ms. Mackey.
Just wanted to say thank you for the presentation and for the ongoing updates. And one of the things, I know the questions I asked early on is about, I know we got community feedback with regard to this process a long time ago, but I'm just especially appreciative that you took the time to make sure that you got feedback from schools, from teachers, from administration with regard to these projects, and there weren't just things that you thought were a good idea, but that you also took the time to go to the schools and communities to get their feedback on these projects, and then you can just see that in the details, and I appreciate that. And thank you for your presentation, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Agostini.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. First of all, I want to let you know that I was at Spring Valley today and I used the Identikit and I loved it. It was so easy to check in, so thank you for doing that.
It's good feedback.
It was much easier than the old way of having to put your driver's license in, but I really did enjoy the ease of using it. I also appreciated the Bethel Hanbury Town Hall meeting that you had last week. I thought it was very informative, and I love seeing different people from the community come out there and speak. One of the questions that I've had a couple of times now, and I hope can be addressed, is the current enrollment at Bethel Hanbury versus the new build of the school capacity.
We're going to build this. The school was budgeted and in the bond for our current program, which we worked on before we built the bond with, if you may remember, in 2017, 2018, we adopted that program for elementary school, which is a capacity of 747 students. So our budget is built on that. So that's what we, at this point, current point, are planning on building under that budget. Now, frankly, if we want to do something different, we can, but we have to stay within our budget. Unfortunately, I think the real solution may have to be redraw attendance lines, which I know is not a topic people like to discuss, but at this point, the school's not scheduled to open until 2022. And once we get closer to 2022, we can make a decision on the attendance lines. But at this point, we're working on our budget of $49 million, and that was built on a 747 seat capacity school.
Thank you. I appreciate you addressing that question in a public forum. So hopefully it'll alleviate some phone calls to me. I have some other questions just as they pertain to the bond documents. Are the bond documents that we just completed for the sale, et cetera, are those public documents? And
I'm going to have
might
to
be
defer
for
that to
Dr. Miley.
Dr. Miley or Dr. Davis.
Yes, they're public documents, and they'll be public when we close on the 26th.
Okay, thank you. And then finally, I want just one final request. Last week, we announced the bond sale, and I would like to have it put on the agenda and not put in the superintendent's closing remarks. First of all, I feel that if we have it listed as an agenda item, that brings transparency to the district so that everybody knows that it's going to be an issue that will be addressed. And secondly, I think it's important to allow the board to have discussion when we announce the sale. So I would, request that we put any additional bond sales on the agenda as an agenda item and not put in closing remarks. Thank you.
I would like just to address that as well. That's not a directive to you, Dr. Miley. That will be taken into consideration as we develop the agenda as outlined by board policy, or what materials and informations are placed on the board agenda. So that recommendation has been made by Ms. Agostini, and I have also received a recommendation from another board member how that information should be placed on the board agenda. So we will take that into consideration. I apologize for you being placed on the spot to ask to do something of that nature. To address the situation regarding the Bethel-Hanbury attendance, we have also had lengthy discussions, Ms. Agostini and I, on what the plans are, and the district is not in a position right now to openly and ready to discuss redrawing of attendance lines. Those of us who have participated in that understand the complexity of that, and it's not as simply as stated, but we are fully aware of the growth in the school district as we do a growth projection every year, and there are multiple schools that will be impacted, and at that time that we're ready to have that discussion once we've completed all the data collection, and we'll bring board members in to share that information with you all and then make a recommendation on how we will address the attendance lines issues. But the Bethel-Hanbury solution is a couple years out, but we do have some issues that we need to address that are more immediate that we'll be sharing as well for the board. Thank you.
Any other question or comments? Thank you. At this time, we will move on to section 11, old business action requested. We're going to take each policy separate. We'll start with 11.1, EEAE, Bus Safety Program. At this time, do I have a motion for EEAE?
Madam Chair,
Mr.
I
Shad?
move that we approve policy revision, policy EEAE Bus Safety Program.
Second.
Thank you. It has been properly moved and seconded by Ms. Mackey. Any discussion?
I call for question.
Yes.
No, we're still in discussion, aren't we?
Yes, we're still in discussion.
I have a question. Just, it's on page 3 at the top, and it just seems confusing to me. And I think it's more clear. I think on the top of page 3, after certain accidents, anytime a supervisor, the bullet points, those go in line with the second bullet point on the preceding page.
Correct. Under the testing program, the district will do the following.
but specifically under, well, can they be hollow points is my question, my question.
Can they, I'm
Well,
sorry.
it goes under, and maybe it's not, but test employees with the South Carolina, the SCDE driver certificate for alcohol and controlled substances. It goes under that category, correct?
It goes under, it says, under the testing program, the district will do the following. Oh, I see what you're saying. I got you. Yes,
understand where I am?
I now see the
It's the form, I mean, it's the formatting, and it was hard
I
to
got
see
you. No,
because
I
I was
understand.
I wasn't clear, but could we do hollow points on that? Do I have to make a motion to make it hollow? And I know that it seems minor, but it's not clear when you're looking at it. It seems like an incomplete sentence.
I recommended, my thoughts are, since it's not a content change, which is what then it doesn't really matter. And if it's just a preference of that it be hollow point, it doesn't hurt or hinder the content or the verbiage of the policy. And so I do know we've discussed at length the conversion of the documents as we get them from School Board Association, as we place them in Google Docs for editing, then we place them for you all to review. And so there's some things that are not transitioning as our staff is trying to catch those things, as they're looking at the number of the volume of documents that we are addressing. But I do not think that it is a problem, and I would lean to our board secretary who presents this information and sends it off to School Board Association to make it hollow points. It doesn't really matter. We just need to get the policy passed so that we can be governed by the policy.
Mr. Shadd, you
Madam
have a
Chair.
question?
I'm not quite following how we're moving from dark points to hollow points when we have plenty of other policies that have dark points. Ms. Agostini, how is this changing or clarifying any confusion that you have from what's on that
All right,
page
because
2 to
it's-
page 3?
No, because if you look, okay, so then under testing program, the district will do the following, and I'm sorry that we're spending time doing this, after certain accidents would be how it would read. It's actually a sub-portion of the bullet point before that. Just like Mr. Cramner showed in his previous presentation, he had a dark thing and then the sub-portion, and I apologize that we're spending time wasting on this, but it's a sub-portion.
It's indented, but because it falls on two separate pages,
It's hard to
it makes
see.
it hard to understand. So we can easily just change that to a dash or something else. So yeah, that's
So after certain accidents attaches to after controlled substances, but because there's a page break,
that's correct.
I don't know, I guess it got auto-corrected and it actually put a bullet point in there when it shouldn't have been there. Is that right?
If you kind of line them up, you can kind of see that the bullets at the top are actually over further to the right. And it's just got on a different page, so it makes it confusing. I understand what she's saying. It's supposed to go under, if you, alcohol and controlled substance, all those 4 bullets, you're going to be on, you'll go get tested for drugs.
Oh, okay, just slid down. Okay. I think what we're hearing is that it is just a format problem, not a dot or a hollow point or any kind of problem like that. I think that can be handled by the executive staff. So at this time, I am going to call, unless there are any other questions or concerns,
Right.
I'm going to call for the vote. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to 11.2, KLGA.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Shadd.
I move that we approve the policy KLGA, school resource officers.
Second.
Oh, y'all real quick tonight. Y'all ready to go? Okay. All right. It has been properly moved and seconded, but any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to 11.3, policy IHBF, medical homebound instruction.
Madam Chair?
Y'all can y'all let me get this out my mouth? At this time, do I have a motion? Ms. Agostini.
I move to approve policy IHBF, medical homebound instruction.
Do we have a second? Mr. Shad. At this time, do we have any discussion? Hearing none, we will call for the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to new business, no action requested. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, we have before you the policy revisions to GBEB, staff conduct. I believe we have our Chief Human Resource Officer, Ms. Shawn Williams, to present this policy to you for your review and for your feedback. Ms. Williams.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Board. We have staff conduct policy, and I will draw attention to the following. The following list, which is not exhaustive, includes actions that are considered misconduct while on duty or on or off district property or at any time when the conduct would disrupt the educational environment or impair the employee's ability to be effective. The administration is recommending the following: possessing weapons on district property unless otherwise authorized by law and the superintendent. And this is the recommendation by the administration.
At this time, any discussion? Board members?
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes, Dr. Elkins.
I have a few questions. And first, I want to say welcome back, Mrs. Williams. We did miss you and glad to see that you're back healthy with us. I would like to start with the first page. If we go to, I think it's the third paragraph from the bottom, where it talks about employees of the district while on duty and in the presence of students would not use profanity. And just want to make sure that this reference coaches, and I think I had this question before, and it said yes, but I just want to make sure, and I guess Dr. Davis, you'll probably be able to answer that. Have we shared that, we shared that with coaches and making sure that coaches are following this policy? Because it's so easy for coaches to do that. I mean, they did that back when I was in school, but I just want to make sure that they know now it's against the policy.
It is actually in the coach's handbook as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And then I would like to move to page 2 and the highlighted area that you mentioned earlier. And it states about possession weapons of district property unless otherwise, let me just put my glasses on. Okay, possessing weapons on district property unless otherwise authorized by law and or the superintendent. I like to, and superintendent. And I would like to make a motion that we change from superintendent to board, because board actually make policies. And I think if we're going to go to an extreme that we're going to allow any employee outside of a school resource officer to carry weapons, that should be a board decision and not a superintendent decision. And I hope at this current time that we are not, because we do have policies in place that dictate that there are no weapons allowed on school property. So I hope that we don't have anyone carrying weapons unless they are authorized by law, and that's the school resource officer. So again, I would like to make a motion that we change that by law and remove superintendent and put the school board.
Dr. Elkins, we'll hold that motion because there's still some further discussion. Dr. Davis?
No comment.
No comment? Okay. Any other board members have any comments?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Shad?
since you're holding the chair tonight, I'm addressing you as such. Why is the administration making suggestion, I'm sorry, not the suggestion, the recommendation that the superintendent be included in authorizing the possession of weapons by our employees on district property? That's my first question.
In section, I think it's, if you look at the policy, the very bottom of the policy, it states the South Carolina codes, and in section 1623-420 and in section 1623-430. 430 states that it shall be unlawful for any person except state, county, or municipal law enforcement officers or personnel authorized by school officials to carry on his person while on an elementary or secondary school property a knife with a blade over 2 inches, a blackjack, a metal pipe or pole, firearms, and any other type of weapon, device, or object that will be used to inflict bodily injury or harm. So according to state law, any person that is qualified to carry a weapon can carry a weapon on school grounds unless they get a clearance from, it's unlawful for them to do so unless they seek clearance from the superintendent or school personnel. So we wanted to define what school personnel was because the law still simply states school personnel. So that could be any individual in the school district without that being defined. That's being defined clearly in our policy as the superintendent. The way our policy currently reads, the word superintendent was not in there. And so we added superintendent in there to identify the school personnel that would approve someone to carry a weapon on school grounds.
So when would there ever be a time where the superintendent would authorize school personnel, and I know resource officers, they're an employee of the sheriff's department, but also works in our schools. So at what point in time would the superintendent ever approve someone having any of these weapons outlined in 1623-430?
Yes, we would not have typically approved any teacher or aide or such individuals that are outside the capacity of their normal operation of their job. However, we have had a long-standing tradition of our management, emergency and management managers or to have those weapons. And that's been customary in Richland too for several years. And so those individuals will be the personnel that would be approved by the superintendent or the board on the recommendation of the superintendent for someone to carry that weapon. However, we still need to clarify because according to law, without getting the clearance, you can, if you look at section 1623-420, those other authorized personnel can carry some sort of weapon or bring a weapon onto school property as long as it's concealed in the glove compartment and so on and so forth. Mr. Anderson can speak more to that tradition of our safety and security officers. Those mainly, there are two positions that have been longstanding that have had the ability to possess firearms. This is not new in Richland School District 2. We're just trying to clarify who school personnel is to give that approval.
And I'm just going to, just real quickly, I'm going to botch what this called, but they're basically deputies, law enforcement officer, retired, that they have the ability to do that. And both our current emergency service manager is the retired deputy of 30-plus years, and our current assistant emergency has a federal status. I can't remember his status. If I brought to Dr. Davis or an employee who just has a concealed weapons permit, I know for a fact that would never happen. So, and we wouldn't even hire that person unless they are a reserve. I think in our qualifications for those positions, they have to have some type of background in policing and have those qualifications. So those is how we always have done it, and we've just updating the policy so that those are the only two individuals that could carry a weapon.
Mr. Anderson, you said that they have done this previously in the past. Did I hear you say that correctly?
We've had since the late 90s our own emergency service staff, and we've had 90-some security officers. all of them or none of them are carry anything. They don't carry a weapon. They don't carry anything. But we have two who are their leaders who are either they've been a retired deputy, they've been some type of armed military police for numerous years, and in their second career, they've now worked for us. And so they have been, show the proper identification, they bring it all with them, and then Dr. Davis or past superintendents would sign for them to be able to carry a weapon, concealed weapon.
I thank you for clarifying that for me, but I think that my personal concern about that is that I think it should not just be the superintendent's call. I concur. I think it should also be in addition to the board, since you said that these are just in emergency situations. I mean, I think that once that decision has been made, that's fine after that decision has been made. But I just don't think it should fall just solely on just the superintendent. I think as a sitting board, I think that's part, I think the public would like us to know exactly who is carrying weapons on our grounds also.
I would just add, our policy as you are changing it now, and if you change it to board, which is fine, is stricter than the state law. State law says basically if I'm any type of officer, if I'm a reserve deputy, I can carry my gun wherever I want to, and I don't have anybody's permission to tell me I can or cannot. So we're actually trying to protect ourselves as a district by putting the superintendent or the board or both.
I think, don't get me wrong, I understand, I appreciate that. I understand exactly what you're saying, and I have no problem with the superintendent being on that in addition to, but I do think that as a sitting board, you do need to know who has weapons on your campus. I just think that you need to know that. I would not want to be somewhere and I see somebody and I don't know who they are and they have a weapon and I'm not even familiar with them and I'm a sitting board member. That's my concern. Are there any other, Dr. Elkins?
Well, I think Mr. Shad addressed my question about who's given permission to carry. And I guess my other question would be, if they're working as an employee for Richland 2, and our policy states no weapons, why are we allowing these folks, just because they worked in prior law enforcement, to carry? We have many people who've worked in prior law enforcement. Are we going to follow what the policy says, or are we going to use practice? And to me, I think it's a safety concern, because if these people are allowed to carry a weapon, what if something happens? Then the district is liable if they pull that weapon out and they hurt a child or a parent or a board member or a teacher. So I would love to understand, and either Will or Dr. Davis can address this, what would be the purpose of allowing them to carry a weapon on school grounds when the policy clearly states no weapons on school property? Then if we're going to allow them to carry that, why are we still paying Richland County Sheriff Department for security when we have the emergency service officers here who carry a weapon?
Well, I would like to state that to try to best answer that question is to draw your attention to when this policy was adopted and revised. The policy was adopted in 2002, 2009, and 2011, and as recently as August 14 of this year, last year, 2018. The policy has always been to, with the clause of the statement in there, as authorized. I don't know what happened to the screen. I was reading the screen, so I'll go to my screen here. But as the policy, we were following policy. The policy allowed for individuals to carry a weapon if they were allowed by law. That was the policy. What we're trying to do is change the policy and make the policy stricter by saying we understand what the law says, but in order to carry a weapon in Richland 2, you have to get the approval of the superintendent.
Okay.
Let me just say to go on record, it is not something that administration is, if it is the will of the board to be at this level of making this decision, the superintendent welcomes the coverage. from the board.
I'm sure.
Without a doubt, in this situation, the superintendent welcomes the coverage from the board to get the approval of an individual to carry a firearm. But we were following the policy. The policy was a lot leaner because the only requirement was that you were authorized by law. And we're adding now, and the superintendent or the board, the board in place of superintendent, whatever the recommendation of the board is, whatever motion the board wants to make in order to do that. We just want to make sure that we have a policy in place. Our recommendations have a policy in place so that a person just can't, by law, and there our employees say, well, the law says I can carry a weapon, and you don't have a policy that stops me from doing that. So we want to put something in place. Who makes the decision? It's not administration is okay with who decides to want to be the final decision maker in that process.
Okay, still my question wasn't quite answered, because if you look at the policy, I don't see anywhere, and again, I don't have my glasses on, but can you show me in the policy where it states that emergency service officers?
It doesn't state who the emergency service officers are. We have designated in the past, not this administration, past administrations, the decision has been allowed to allow the emergency individuals to carry those weapons.
And that's my point. We're basing something off a previous administration. We're only concerned about the administration that we have now.
But they can carry it by law. Those individuals by law can carry it. So according to the policy right now, any individual in our school district who has the ability to carry a weapon can technically carry a weapon to school.
Yeah.
So we need to put something in place that will not allow them to simply go by the law, but now they have to follow board policy. So it could be a number of individuals that may be out there. This policy is not about one or two individuals. It's for any individual who's employed in our district that says, by law, I am authorized to carry a weapon, and you can't prevent me from doing that. Well, we can, and you can't do it until you get approval from whether it's the superintendent or from the board.
Okay, then answer the second part of my question. If we decide to go that route, will we still be paying Richland County share for security with weapons if we're going to allow our emergency service officers to carry weapons?
I think for the safety and security of the individuals that are here in our school district, what it costs for
Only
us
at
to
board meetings.
At board meetings, I think it's still appropriate for us to have. We have reduced our security force or detail down to one deputy, but I think they can't assist in every situation. And so we will want to have a person who have the ability to arrest should we need a person to be arrested if there's an issue that may take place, or a person to take charge if there is an issue that is impacting us outside of the scope of the responsibilities of those emergency service individuals. And so I think it's for the betterment of the board to have at least one armed deputy on premise during our board meetings.
Okay, and my final question is, and I think I requested this before, if you could provide how much we're actually paying a month on the security of the Richland County Sheriff Department, I'd love to see exactly how much we're spending.
Yes, ma'am. We'll provide that in the upcoming board brief on what those expenditures have been up to this point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Vice.
I got you after Mr. Shad. Mr. Shad.
Thank you. Again, Dr. Davis, please enlighten me again, because I'm looking at 1623-430. What I'm hearing is we already have some emergency persons under previous administrations have already been carrying weapons. These are folks that are outside of our school resource officers. Whether we knew this on the board or not, or found out for now, whether we necessarily wanted the public to know that these folks had these weapons, clearly no incident has occurred, but that doesn't mean that it won't occur at some point. And I do hear you saying that you're not going to allow teachers to arm themselves, but what I'm hearing is if this policy, from y'all's vantage point, if this policy doesn't go through, then your reading of this is that there could be a teacher who has a concealed weapons permit that could arm themselves and come to their place of employment now. And And if that's the case, then that means that we may already have had teachers who've already been armed. Is that your reading of it?
That's my understanding that it is possible. And in that person's, go ahead,
Well,
Will.
just clarification, the concealed weapon is different than being, having that retired military or the ability to, what is it, a guard, law enforcement officer, member of the armed forces, student, but the this section does not apply to a guard, law enforcement officer, or member of the armed forces or student of military science. It does say here, 420. It does say that concealed weapons, that those are only in, you can only have that in your car. So it says if you have a concealed weapon, you can't bring it onto the school, but you must have it locked in your, properly in the car like you get with your concealed weapons permit. So
one's possession and one's carrying.
concealed weapon, you can't bring it into school. Carrying, you have to have the law enforcement, all the things that are mentioned in 420 and 430, which are the same thing. And
I don't see where where it's a retired person. Are you looking at subsection D? Because I'm saying this does not apply to a guard, law enforcement officer, or member of the armed forces, or a student of military science. I don't see anywhere where it's talking about a retired law enforcement officer. Unless I don't have an updated.
I'd have to get more research on that. I know that there's unless Chuck has the answer, and I want to put him on the spot. But there is as a retired police officer, you do have.
Is there any way possible you guys can send us what you're reading from?
Thank you.
Because it's not aligning with what we have in front of us, and words are being inserted that's not in the agreement that we have.
Chuck just said there's a federal law, and we can do the research and get you the law that allows retired police officers. There's a federal law that allows retired police officers to carry weapons. We'll make sure we get that federal law as well as these two laws that we're reading so that you can see those laws in its entirety.
Okay.
I
Also just wanted to point out too that subsection A in section 420. In A, it does say the provisions of this subsection related to premises or property, school, college, university, blah, 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 do not apply to a person who is authorized to carry a concealed weapon when it remains in the vehicle and locked. So they can bring it on campus, as long as they keep it in their vehicle locked, then it's okay.
According to the law.
So why do we have the need for an additional? If the law already says that anyone other than those who fit into that category, the law enforcement folks, the guard, why do we need to have an additional restriction where it's up to the superintendent to approve someone? And again, who would fall in that category if they're not a guard, retired person, what have you, that the superintendent would even approve?
I would just to say, just for clarification, again, the recommendation was made from administration to have the superintendent because the superintendent serves as the chief administrative officer of the district. The superintendent is not interested in necessarily on being the sole person to make this decision of whether or not a person can carry a weapon on our premises. We've restated for the board multiple times that indeed we have already had individuals who have been allowed to carry weapons, 2 individuals, 2 positions only that have been approved to carry the weapons. According to that section of the law that we just recently discussed, that authorization can come from school personnel. We wanted to define who school person, our simple attempt was to simply define who school personnel was to be able to give that. If the board's recommendation or desire is that no one, period, can carry a weapon, irregardless of position, that's the recommendation of the board, and this administration will stand firmly behind the board to enforce whatever policy the board sees fit as it relates to GBEB, that particular section of carrying a weapon.
And I would probably be in favor of that. I would not be in favor of letting the board decide this type of issue. If we're going to add any additional language, then I definitely would not want the board to be selecting who and who cannot. That's not in our vein. So I would not be in favor of that motion.
I agree, but that was the recommendation. That was the statement that was made to give that.
Okay, at this time, since there are many questions on this particular policy, and we do not have all the legal precedents in front of us, my suggestion is that we table this particular policy until we have all of the information. At that time, we can come back and make an informed decision as to just debating it back and forth without the policy in front of us.
Madam Vice Chair?
Yes,
we still
Dr. Elkins.
We still have other questions, so before
I
we
know,
cut it off-
Dr. Elkins, that's what I'm saying.
Right,
What
but
I'm
they still
saying,
need to know what
Dr.
our
Elkins,
questions
what I'm
are.
saying is that because we do not have all of the information, we are stabbing in the dark at this particular policy. I understand that there are still concerns. I have concerns about it also. But I don't think that at this time, without the informed information that we need to make an informed decision, that we need to continue just having a discussion that's in the dark. I think that it is my recommendation that we table it and get all the information, and then we can make an informed decision.
But let me just make a statement.
I'd like to make that as a motion.
Well, I would like to make a comment first. They need to know what the questions are, so they'll know what to bring back to us. They don't know what our questions and concerns are. How are they going to know what to bring back
I'm
to
looking
us?
for a second to my motion. It has been seconded by Ms. Mackey. Any other discussion? Dr. Elkins, did you have anything
Yes,
else?
it's still more discussion. Thank you very much. Again, I think we all need to have the opportunity to still ask questions so they'll know exactly what they need to bring back to us before we just rudely just cut everyone off.
I'm not being rudely, but for the sake of making, no ma'am, I'm not saying for the sake of time.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, for the sake of not just stabbing in the dark around with information that we do not have this evening, we need to have all the information. And then once we have the collective information, then we can all make an informed decision. I don't think that, I do not think that anybody is not concerned about that. That is why that once they have sent out the information, Dr. Davis and them, we can have our questions addressed at that time, and then we can come back and make an informed decision. There is a motion on the floor that we table it, and it has been seconded that we table it to the next board meeting. At this time, I will call for the vote.
Madam
I would
Chair.
still make a comment that I think we need to have an opportunity to still share our questions so they'll know exactly what to bring back to us, so there will be no
If
misunderstanding.
the motion fails, Dr. Elkins, you are free to make another motion, but at this time, there is a motion on the floor.
Madam Chair, I have a question, point of clarification.
After we make the motion, Mr. Shad, there is a motion on the floor.
It's to address the
We are calling for the vote.
We cannot do that.
Exactly. I mean.
We cannot do that.
It needs to be a postponement of the vote,
It
not a
has been
table.
moved and seconded. Why can we not do that?
It needs to be postponed rather than tabled, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, we
There's no
can use
action
the wrong
requested.
postponed. Is that a better word? We can use the word, we will postpone until another time.
I'll allow.
Thank you.
I second the amendment.
You second the minute? Thank you, Ms. Mackey. At this time, we call for the vote.
And vote.
Postponed, right.
The motion passes 5-1. Moving on. Twelve point two, report, back to school report, Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, and to our teachers and our teacher cadets and students and family that are here. This is the annual, principals and administrators as well, this is the annual back-to-school report that the superintendent shares at the beginning of the school year, so we'll jump right into, all right. You're ready. All right. So if you remember or recall, we started the school year out this year with the theme of Premier Starts Here. And so Premier starts with summer professional development. We had about 318 new employees attend our summer professional development in July. First time both certified employees and support staff. We had 121 induction teachers beginning their careers in Richland School District 2 this summer. We had design days in our district in-service back on August the 16th. As you can see the tweet here, or the post here, this week in Richland 2 held design days, a professional learning format grounded in the belief that teachers are experts in their fields and learn best when given the time and structure to collaborate together. The lesson for me, trust teachers and great things happen. Premier Professional Development continued throughout the year. We had classroom management, graduate level courses for our induction teachers. This was something that we've had some discussions about over the last year, about the need for us to continue to find ways to better prepare our teachers to be able to handle issues and concerns that may arise in the classroom. So as we look back over, we thought the best place to start would be with those individuals that are brand new to the profession, our induction teachers, because we do want to try to retain those teachers as well. And so we wanted to put them in a classroom management program. We also continued with the 1920 cohort of culturally relevant teaching practices with Dr. Gloria Boutte. In addition to that, we're starting a new seminar this year with women in leadership. Here in Richland School District 2, and our very first session will be Monday, September the 30th, right here at R2I2, and there are going to be 4 sessions for women in leadership, and it's open to those individuals who apply to come in to be a part of just learning about being a leader from the perspective of women leaders who have done a wonderful job of doing that. So we want to continue to develop our leaders throughout the district. If you know a little bit about Ready to Read, Kinder College, and Scholars Academy, as well as Summer Boost and the middle school bridge program, but just let me share a little bit of information with you about each one of them. As you know, the Ready to Succeed Summer Reading Camp, this is a 6-week intensive reading program that's designed for our 2nd and 3rd and 4th graders. These are the students who are somewhat behind when it comes to their grade, reading behind on grade level. We believe that in order to help close the achievement gap, to narrow that achievement gap, it begins with increasing instructional time for our students. So identifying those students where the gaps exist, where the gaps are the largest, and giving them more instructional time during the summer. Of course, that helps prevent with summer slide, but it also helps with them with closing or narrowing that gap. 180 days of instruction should gain you 1 year of academic growth. But if everyone's receiving 180 days of instruction, then you just continue the path. You continue to widen the gap. That is also very important, particularly for those students who come from more challenging socioeconomic backgrounds, because that growth is widened even more during the summer months when they're unable to experience some of the opportunities to learn outside of the classroom during the summer months. So it's important for us to have them in school. Kinder College and Scholars Academy are also 3 weeks intensive reading programs, but this is designed for rising kindergartners and 1st grade students who are reading significantly below grade level. At the middle school, we had over 250 rising 6th graders participate in Summer Boost program. The Summer Boost program is very similar to the Read to Succeed in Kinder College and Scholars Academy because it focuses on ELA. And so this, again, is continuing that process of making them better and stronger readers, which should help them with their comprehension and learning and understanding. We've now transitioned that to our 9th graders at the high school level, we had about 30 rising ninth graders who participated in a pilot this year called the Algebra Bridge Program. This program was designed to give a boost to those students in Algebra 1. As you know, one of the things that we are striving for on our road to being premier is that all of our students by grade 11 are ready to succeed in Algebra 2, to make sure that all of our students are Algebra 2 ready by grade 11. And so we have to identify those rising ninth graders who may have some skills deficiencies in Algebra 1. You know a little bit about Promising Pathways summer camps. We had several summer camps taking place this summer with Promising Pathways, and this was a 4-year grant funded program that supports about a cohort of about 75 students at Condors, Kills, and Richland Northeast. It's implemented evidence-based strategies specifically designed to address the academic and career development needs of students so that upon completion of high school, students will possess the skills and knowledge and life and career characteristics of the profile of a South Carolina graduate. It is also a 6-week summer enrichment camp program. I'm using this so I don't go over my time. Summer food programs. We like to give you some of these little fun facts every year about summer food programs. As you can see, 44,414 meals and snacks served to children's ages 0 to 18. 0.
0.
Okay.
They're not here.
At 14 schools and 4 community centers, premier partner support. And I've also had an opportunity to go out to these locations, throughout these satellite locations. And indeed, I've seen infants with their parents and their siblings come out to receive summer, to take part in our summer food programs. And it's a great experience to volunteer. I think most members of our executive staff took an opportunity to go out and participate and volunteer. We get an opportunity to play games with those students, to meet with parents in a very informal way, but show that we are all community and that we all care. Fiesta Conexiones, hundreds of families participated in this. We had great information shared about healthy services, a lot of music and food and fun for all that participated. I had an opportunity to stand out in the heat with several of our board members and our parents and teachers who participated in the back to school bash. It was a huge success for our very first back to school bash. We got to make sure we have a tent or something.
Yes, Lord.
While we're standing out in that heat.
It was hot.
And providing our students with some of the basic things that they need. Again, I think it was stated earlier by our vice chair, not to take for granted that our students have some of the basic supplies that they need to get to kickstart their school year. So it was a wonderful opportunity for teachers and administrators and community members to come together to support our students in a show of love and support for them as they are starting out their school year. It was well attended. Lots of folks. We had great coverage, so we will look to continue that next year for our second annual bash. Maintenance projects. Premier starts with getting our facilities ready. So you can see a list of just few of the things that we've done over the summer to prepare to get ready for the start of school. 1,700 work orders. We moved 29 portables, 13 flooring projects, 7 HVAC projects, fire panel upgrades, all sandboxes refilled and installed with new playground equipment. Prepare all competition fields, stadiums, field houses, etc. for fall competition. In logistics, we had 200 work orders. We moved 850 pieces of furniture, delivered about 1,200 packages, and prepared a warehouse for IT projects and construction. Premier starts with our 3,717 employees, and you see the breakdown. You will often ask this question in the public, I believe. I've probably had a conversation with each of our board members at one time or another. How many teachers do we have in the district, or how many employees are in the district? And you can see we're probably one, if not the largest employee, I think, behind Blue Cross and Blue Shield in the northeast part of town. So we have 3,700 employees. 2,100 of those individuals are certified. We have 1,300 support staff and 179 administrative staff, and that's including administrative staff at the district level and school level across our district. We have 499 new employees hired since May 1st, 2019. And we have a 99% fill rate. It is disheartening that we had to fill 499 teaching positions, but I'm also thankful for the hard work of all of us who participate in being recruiters for our school district. That includes the executive staff, each member of the school board, and our teachers who recruit other teachers, because they can be your biggest recruiters for vacancies in your schools as well. And so we are continuing to bring in high quality educators into our school district and into our family. Looking at our students, Premier starts with our students, and just an update on where we look as far as enrollment is concerned. As you can see, compared to day 11, pre-K through 12th grade, from 2018 to 2019, you can see we're at 28,407. This year, we were at the 11th day of school at 28,551. Day 11, K through 12. The number is 27,741 compared to the previous year of 27,597. So our projected enrollment for the 2019 school year at the 90-day mark is 2,815 students compared to where we were last year at the 90-day mark of 27,597 students. So Richland School District 2 continues to grow. But if you are moving about in the Richland Northeast area, I don't have to tell you that. You see that on a day-to-day basis as they are clearing land and deers and things, everything else is running out into the streets every day. State of our school buses. We get this question all the time. I think I shared this information with the board earlier this summer about an article that we found at Spring Valley High School. They had a district newspaper back in 1970. And we had a district newspaper back in 1970. And in 1970, we had, I want to say 77 or 78 school buses. In 1970. And so you see what our totals are today. We have 122 schools. Now, I wasn't around in 1970, but I can tell you we didn't have nearly 28,000 students back then. So we haven't grown much, but we do have 122 total buses. 83 of those are regular route buses and 39 are our special need buses. We have 35 Richland 2 buses. We ran 676 total routes. 509 of those were regular routes and 167 were special need routes. The total miles per day, 12,383 miles. The total number of students transported in Richland 2 every day is 19,120 students. So over half of our students are being transported on school buses. 17,403 breakfasts were served and 66,905 lunches served the first 3 days of school. So as your board members, I know for many of us in administration at the district level and the school level, we get a lot of complaints during the start of the year about lunch lines. As you can see, we served 66,000 lunches in 3 days. Lots of food. This is some information I'd already shared with the board, and we're just simply sharing with the with our public. You probably can't see these, but these are district initiatives. And what we did was administration. We labeled these as things that are have a high level of urgency, things that have somewhat of an immediate, intermediate level of urgency, and low urgency. But the key to this is it's still urgent. So we're just categorizing those things and organizing those things. And you see employment, recruitment, and retention, looking at a possibility of using or deciding possibility of some sort of adjunct profession, teachers program, 100 minority male teachers in 4 years, continuing with our implementation of our formative assessment, AVID, going district-wide with Avid, our implementation of MTSS on grade level reading continues with our third graders, but we've added math as a area of focus as well to ensure that our third graders are not only simply reading on grade level, but are also performing mathematics on grade level. Shooting for 100% of our students to be ready for college and be college or career ready. Universal mental health screening. We also, in some of the areas of intermediate, again, the Algebra 2, we're constantly working on preparing those students to be ready for Algebra 2. We want to host a conference for Diversity and Multicultural Inclusion Conference. We're continuing to look at middle school start times. Zoning is one of those things that we're going to have to pay attention to here. Discipline and elimination of expulsions for level 1 infractions. We're already working on the Women in Leadership series. Water safety for all of our elementary students, and our CAPE programs as well, credentialing and badging, and also introduction of new programs across the district. And some of our low urgency things, but things that we're focusing on, we have our coding magnet up and running, our after school programs, looking for continuity and consistency for those programs across the district. Bringing some consistency to credit recovery, and 100% at-home Wi-Fi access for all students in the district. Last year, we introduced our teacher objectives when it comes to learning, and now we have teacher expectations for learning, and now we've introduced our students' expectations for learning. So in 2018 was the teacher's turn. Now you see an example of what we posted and we're working on when it comes to student expectations of learning, and of course you'll see the usage of some of the Avid language that we are expecting to implement across the district. So exhibiting academic behaviors, learn with a growth mindset, be a positive member of the learning community. Sit up, lean forward, ask questions, nod your head, and track your teacher. We have the Richland 2 High School Pledge. The Richland 2 High School Pledge was something that was developed or came out of our high school, or Rethinking High School task force that we pulled together. It's been a process of about 2 years, I think now. And from that task force, this pledge was developed for all of our high schools to participate in. And so if you've been in a high school this year, you may have seen this posted on the wall in our high schools. I've seen them as I've traveled around the district so far this year. Support innovation and risk-taking, promote equity and inclusiveness in learning and resources, and it goes along with supporting our equity policy. Personalized learning to the needs of the individual students, focus on fostering relationships between all partners, maintain rigorous high standards and expectations for students and staff, ensure students and staff are safe physically and emotionally, ensure students are prepared for life beyond high school, and support teachers and staff with tools and resources needed for growth and success. And we'll end with a video.
Good morning, how are you? Welcome back.
Viktor Frankl talked about man's constant search for meaning. But in that search of meaning, man was striving for one thing, and that is towards self-actualization, the best version of you. How can you expect the best version of your students if you haven't examined what the best version of you is? Have you taken inventory and looked at what is the best version of me? When I see myself as my best self, who am I? And then do I consistently practice those things that will make me the best version of myself? Every student has a different pathway. It is not up to us to determine what that pathway is. It is to help them discover what the pathway is. When we say Premier starts here, yes, we mean Richland too, but we mean here. I know what's in store for this district. I know what we can achieve, and I've seen us achieve it, and I know that the universe will conspire to give it to us if we collectively want it bad enough, because there's nothing like efficacy, the belief in yourself. And I believe that I am the one to do it, and you need to believe that you are the one to make the difference in a student's life. That's what being Premier is about. Y'all have a great start of the year. I love you all. Take care. Thank you for indulging me for the back to school report. If there are any questions at this time, we will do our very best to answer them. Thank you.
Hire me back. That was wonderful.
Dr. Sherwood Caution Parker. No, go ahead. Any other question or comments from the board?
Madam Vice Chair.
Okay, Ms. Agostini.
I really appreciate that the district initiatives were separated into high urgency, just in the different categories. When we had our board workshop this summer, it was a list of, basically all of these together compiled, but not in a sense of urgency. And one of the things that I thought I heard the board say was that, this would be good information for us to use for next year's evaluation. What I'd love to see us do is have a board workshop with this information so we can, figure out what our goals are and make measurable goals. I'm getting a little tired too, but so that it'll better help our district move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Agostini. Ms. Mackey.
Dr. Davis, I just want, the presentation was awesome. I was sitting here and trying to take notes as to the things that stood out to me, but then I sat here, we spend a lot of time in our board meetings in the committee with potato, how to do one person's preferences over another, but the end user of the people we serve here is education. As I sat here and tried to take notes of things that stood out to me, like the algebra program and the summer feeding program that is so impactful, there are students in our district who only eat at school, who only have a reliable meal at school. And as I sat here trying to take notes, Dr. Davis, there were too many. You gave us 15 slides. 14 of those slides, I'm excluding the title page, had to do directly with educating students, our teachers, educating them, our administrators administrating, feeding students. The academic programs you have, 14 of every slide, except for the cover, had to do with what is most critical and most matters in this district, and it's educating our students. And I want to thank you, Dr. Davis, for just showing us a snippet. This isn't everything. I mean, you couldn't do like 35 slides, so 15 was, a reasonable amount. But the executive staff, the teachers who are sitting here, administrators, and the people who work, what was the number for the employees? The high number. Yeah, all of the employees that make the product that we administer at District 2, which is education work. I just applaud you all. And thank you, Dr. Davis, for giving us a snippet of what you all do every day and goes on behind the scenes to affect the end user of the product that we are serving, and that's education. So kudos, Dr. Davis, and your staff. It's not just you and the teachers who are here. The teachers are not here. Parents, community members. This is just, I always look forward to the back to school report because it shows a lot, but not nearly enough for everything that you do.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Dr. Davis and faculty and staff. I appreciate you all. Now, moving on to item 13.1, draft agenda items for October 15th meeting. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. We will have our October the 15th meeting, our regular scheduled board meeting here at R2I2, beginning at 5:30 with executive session. We'll call the order and proceed into executive session where we will discuss admission requests into the district's adult ed program and student appeals. We'll have our inspirational moment. We'll have the approval of our current agenda as well as special recognitions. We'll have the approval of our consent agenda. We'll have a school focus, which will be the Center for Knowledge. We'll have public participation and legislative update. We'll vote on items that were discussed in our executive session, student appeals and student readmission requests. We'll also have old policies, no action requested. This is policy EEAG, which is student transportation and private vehicles. We've discussed this policy before, and we're bringing it back to you after sharing this information with PAC and FAC regarding, as directed by the board. We'll have old business action requested on policy GBEB, which I think we will need to remove that policy. So we would need a motion to remove that policy if you all need, it was, I think, postponed. GBEB was postponed unless we'll make an amendment to put it back under old business, no action requested. We will need, we'll have old business action requested. These are policies, the second half of policy I. You all have received policy I. We will actually discuss these policies at our October 1st board workshop. And so we'll be looking to approve those policies at the October 15th board meeting. We'll have the agenda items for the October 29th board meeting. And if you realize the October 29th board meeting, I believe, is the 5th Tuesday of the month, as well as the 15th is the 3rd Tuesday. So just as a note to our public, will be the 3rd Tuesday and the 5th Tuesday for the month of October. The special call workshop will be on the 1st Tuesday of October. We'll have public participation number 2, should we need it, our board and superintendent comments, and executive session 2 if needed, along with our voting items, and then adjournment.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. At this time, we'll move to 14.1, approval of the draft agenda items for the October 15th meeting. Do I have a motion?
Madam Vice Chair.
Yes, Ms. Mackey.
I move that we approve the agenda for the October 15th regular board meeting with the exception of item 12.1, the policy revisions to GBEB. I recommend that it be moved under item 11, old business, no action requested.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Shad. Any discussion? Hearing none, at this time we'll take the vote. At this time, the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to 15.1, public participation 2. There's no one else signed up for that, so we can move on to 16.1, board and superintendent comments. And we will start on my left with Mr. Shad.
Thank you. Great meeting tonight. Congratulations to our Teachers of the Year. It's great when we can recognize them once again for their achievements. And the recognition by their peers at their local schools. We wish Mr. Chambers well, of course, and as well as the folks who are honor roll folks. But I do want to stress that this is just the cream of the crop, and the crop is great. Thank you.
Dr. Elkins.
Just like to say congratulations to the teachers of the year, as well as thank you to our teacher cadets for coming out, and always to SC for Ed. Thank you for being a part of our meetings as always. I want to go back to our monthly word character trait, kindness. Kindness should not only be spoken, but it should be shown. So I would love for kindness to extend for the entire school year, because I think even some of us still need to practice what kindness look like, what it feels like, and what it sounds like. Thank you.
Dr. Caution Parker.
I completely agree with Dr. Elkins Johnson about kindness. It's important that we all are kind to each other. I also want to say to Dr. Davis, it's a great back-to-school report. And I was only kidding about hiring me back. I don't want to. I like being retired. I like being retired. And congratulations again to the teachers of the year. They are all shining stars. And this has been over 30 years ago. I was E.L. Wright's Teacher of the Year, and I was the District Teacher of the Year back in 1987, 88. All of you out here are probably still children at home in grade school and all that. I know Mr. Shad was. I know you were. But it really is a wonderful and something that stays with you the rest of your life. For me, it was a shining point in my whole career of 34 years. Well, 39 now serving on the board. But it was definitely the brightest point in my entire career. And I appreciate it very much. Also, I want to say thank you to Dr. Teresa Jones Holmes for your service this evening. You've done a great job and appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Ms. Agostini. Ms. Mackey.
No problem. I think I've said all I need to say tonight. I just wanted to commend our visiting Boy Scout troop. You stayed the whole time.
They did.
You stayed the whole time. Bless you all for, I hope it was a productive meeting for you and got something out of it, but I think I've said all I need to say. Y'all have a great evening. Bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey. Ms. Agostini?
Yes, also, thank you, Scouts, for being here tonight with us. Nice job, Madam Vice Chair, on running the meeting tonight. And a special congratulations to all those teachers that were recognized this evening. Also, just a quick comment, because I'm trying to get to a swim meet, but in terms of policy GBEB, I too am worried. I didn't have the opportunity to speak. We postponed the vote. But I'm worried about the liability, the accountability, and I'm looking forward to getting the information that we did request. And I'm also hoping that the board's interested in considering just scratching the unless otherwise authorized by law and the superintendent. But I look forward to exploring this issue further. Thank you.
Okay. I would like to say thank you all for coming. At SC for Ed, y'all are always here. Thank you for always being here. We appreciate you. The Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, I really appreciate you all coming. Our cadets that were here earlier, and our teachers of the year who stayed, even though you already got your award, we still appreciate you staying. I'd like to say this was very nerve-wracking. This is my first time. It's my first time doing this. I appreciate it. On a personal note, I'm going to ask for your prayers. I just found out this evening before coming to the board meeting that my mother has been diagnosed with cancer. And so she has been admitted into, she has been admitted into the hospital this evening. So as soon as I leave her, I'll be headed there. But it was a little difficult to get through this meeting tonight. But I think that when you make a commitment to do something and other people are depending on you, I think you have to stick to your commitments. But on a personal note, for those who are Christian or whatever you are, I appreciate whatever prayer that you can lend to my family tonight. Thank you. Dr. Davis. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Holmes. I do want to say congratulations. You did an outstanding job.
Thank you.
You did an outstanding job. And thank you to our board for another wonderful board meeting tonight, as well to our executive staff for all their hard work and preparation to ensure that we have the materials that we need. I also commend you for all your efforts and work to make sure that our board is well informed. And I want to say thank you publicly to our parents that are here as well. I think Dr. Elkins Johnson did it at one of our last board meetings, recognizing that our parents that are decided to come and stick with us. So I wanted to keep that tradition of recognition that she started, to thank you all for your time, because our staff is here and we always appreciate them being here. Of course, to our teachers and those who are representing SC for Ed, we continue to thank you for your leadership across the state. It's not just Richland School District 2. I think sometimes it gets missed in the fact that you are leading something that is much bigger than Richland 2, but something that is big in our state. And so we appreciate you all for taking on that mantle, because leadership is heavy. That mantle was a big mantle, and there's a lot of people that are always gunning for the person who's leading worthy causes. So we appreciate you doing that. And of course, to our scouts, and we see that we are in South Carolina, here in Columbia, Richland 2, we have quickly adopted that the gender, there's no gender issue in our scouts in our district. And so we thank you for being leaders in that.
I'm gonna give him a hand on that.
So thank you all for doing that. We have, and congratulations to our teachers of the year. Again, I hands down, I would say we have the best teachers in the state of South Carolina, and we're so appreciative of all the hard work that they do as well. We talked a little bit at the beginning of the year about called, and I believe that those called are choosing to be teachers, and we truly believe those individuals are called to this. This is more than just a career or profession for them. If you did not know, we had 18 Richland 2 seniors have been named semifinalists in the 2020 National Merit Scholarship Program. And these academically talented high school students move on to compete for some 7,600 National Merit Scholarships worth about $31 million that will be offered next spring. So congratulations to all of our semifinalists, National Merit semifinalists. We are in the middle of our United Way campaign. I made my contributions today. Last year, Richland 2 employees donated more than $128,000 to the United Way of the Midlands. Proceeds provide assistance to students through Richland 2's summer reading camp, help launch the Resilient Richland at Jackson Creek Elementary, an initiative to assist individuals combat the effects of trauma and improve the quality of life in many other areas for students and families in our district and community. So our daughters are staying local. Spring Valley High School will be celebrating its 50th anniversary, and there's lots of festivities are planned for this weekend, starting on Friday with the Hall of Fame game, and they'll also have, I believe, the golf tournament is this Friday as well. They'll have a tailgate and food trucks, and on Saturday the celebration continues with the all-class grand reunion. We are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month through October the 15th, so check the district's website for information on the taste and sounds of salsa and other upcoming events. And as we continue to remember that September is Attendance Matters Month, and as several of our board members have stated, that it is also Kindness Month, and in reflecting on kindness, as stated by Dr. Elkins Johnson and Dr. Cheryl Caution Parker, the importance of that. Kindness is doing nice things for other people, being considerate, helpful, and gentle. So today, be a blessing to someone, compliment someone, encourage someone, be a little more intentional about being kind and good to people you've come across without looking for something in return. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for indulging me.
Okay, at this time, may I have a motion for adjournment?
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Agostini. May I have a second? Second. Mr. Shad, you all have a great evening.